name is Dr. Chris Kempshall. I'm the historical consultant here at BlackMill Games. I've been working away busily in the background on Gallipoli, obviously a game that we're all very excited about. And if you're sitting down and watching this, let's talk about Gallipoli. Now, whilst the Western Front over in France and Belgium is locked in kind of endless trenches during this time period of the First World War, there's another war raging elsewhere on mainland Europe and also over in Asia and in the Middle East. It's a war of expeditionary forces taking sweeping campaigns. It's a war of different shifting alliances as kind of pacts and treaties are being made and broken. It's a war that will completely reshape the region for decades to come, playing out on incredibly varied battlefields. It's the Middle Eastern campaign. It's what you're going to find and experience within Gallipoli. The Ottoman Empire was vast. The territory that it contained spread from the Sinai Desert to Mesopotamia, from Arabia to the Caucasus. It's here that the British and the Ottoman empires, along with their respective allies, clashed not only over territory, but also for control of vital trade routes, of oil fields, and also influence over the crumbling inner workings of the Ottoman regime and the Ottoman realm. Beyond the immediate battles, the campaign carried really interesting, real and perceived strategic importance, this particularly for the Allies. They wanted to knock the Ottoman Empire out of the war, seize the Dardanelles. In doing so, you can open up a vital supply route to Russia through the Black Sea and secure the valuable oil resources in Mesopotamia. They thought that Germany is being supported, propped up by Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire, that Germany can't fight this war by itself. If you knock one of those out of the war, there's a chance that Germany might collapse. That's not actually how that alliance worked. It's actually the other way around. It's Germany props up Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire. For the Ottomans, they also brought their own interests. They were offered them a chance to kind of reassert their great power status and kind of maybe settle some old rivalries, particularly with Russia. They were a long-term foe in the Crimean War, a long-term foe in the Caucasus, and Russia had always kind of looked at parts of the Ottoman Empire as a gateway to the Mediterranean to give them the warm water port for trade that they'd always wanted. So important was this potential supply route to Russia that Britain and France actually promised to Russia, in the event of victory over the Ottoman Empire, control of the Dardanelles Straits, the route into Constantinople. Now, historically, that's a big deal. Britain and France went to war alongside the Ottoman Empire against Russia in Crimea to prevent effectively exactly this from happening. Now, the Gallipoli campaign of 1915 is a very bold attempt by the Allies to break through the Dardanelles Straits and capture the Ottoman capital and therefore force them out of the war. The Ottomans have it very heavily defended. They've got forts on both sides of the straits. They've got minefields. They've got big naval guns. The British and the French think they can push their navy through, get through the squeeze point, the bottleneck. Plan, however, falters. The narrow straits proved impassable. It becomes a brutal stalemate. Large numbers of Allied soldiers never really get any further away than the beaches. They do change the balance of power in the Balkans, but not favourably. Bulgaria joins the Central Powers and completely reshapes that kind of balance of power around the Balkans. Gone is any hope of finding another route up into Central Europe through the Balkans. So the Allies have massively hamstrung themselves through the failure of this campaign and will have to reconsider a lot of their options when it comes to dealing with the Ottoman Empire. But there are other lasting legacies. It forges brand new national identities. Many people refer to Gallipoli as the birthplace of Australia and New Zealand as new nations. It's the first time that Australia and New Zealand soldiers effectively fight together on a battlefield. For the Ottomans, or indeed for modern Turkey, it elevates figures like Mustafa Kemal, who is now kind of better known as Ataturk, into a figure of lasting national prominence. By 1916, the cracks within the Ottoman Empire had deepened into open revolt. There were these long-standing ethnic, religious and regional tensions barely being contained even before the war, which were now beginning to flare across the empire. In Arabia, Sharif Hussein of Mecca declares the Arab revolt, and he seizes the moment to challenge Ottoman rule. Alongside him, supporting him, are British agents, like the very famous T. Lawrence, or Lawrence of Arabia. Arab forces turned these internal divisions into a powerful uprising that struck deep behind Ottoman lines. And that's really important, because the Ottoman Empire was trying to kind of stave off invasion from the British and the French. how many men can it really afford to spare to quell revolts, quell revolutions, quell uprisings far beyond the war front, behind its own lines, in its own territory, at the same time as it's fighting a war to survive? The Entente waged war against the Ottoman Empire on multiple fronts. There were battles in Mesopotamia and also battles in Palestine. Now, in Mesopotamia, late in 1914, the British landed a great number of Indian troops to seize the valuable port city of Basra. But something very interesting happens when the British arrive. There's no great resistance to the invasion. Now, the Ottoman Empire had always hoped that many of the tribes that inhabit Mesopotamia would kind of rise up against an invasion and delay them so that reinforcements could arrive. But it turns out that many of those tribes looked at the arrival of the British as not necessarily really their problem. So there's nothing to stop the British from pushing inland, and that's exactly what they do. They begin to move along the River Tigris, and in September 1915, they seized the incredibly valuable city of Kut. Now, in 1915, the Ottomans themselves decide to take the war to the British. They stage a raid on the Suez Canal, which fails in its attempt to cut off the Suez Canal and kind of divide the British Empire in half. But the threat to the Suez Canal is viewed as being so severe by the British that they stage their own invasion across the Sinai into Palestine. There are battles repeatedly at Gaza. And eventually, by the end of 1917, the British have seized and captured Jerusalem. All of these battles are massively disrupting Ottoman territory, massively disrupting the Ottoman war effort. And the pressure and the losses in these battles begins to tell. By 1918, things are looking bleak. The Ottoman Empire is exhausted, and eventually their various fronts start to collapse, and the British and the French, they're on to Constantinople, and they capture it, and a treaty is signed which removes the Ottoman Empire from the war. The Armistice of Mudros brought centuries of Ottoman rule in the Arab world to an end, but the peace is far from settled. The Entente occupied Constantinople, but this sparks the Turkish War of Independence and the rise of a new republic under Ataturk. Eventually, the Treaty of Lausanne in 1923 replaces the previous Treaty of Sèvres. The Allies give up Constantinople again. And all of this together leads to dramatic, hugely influential redrawings of borders that echo and continue for decades to come. The battlefields of the Great War still echo through history. They still have a place, they still have a memory to them. And very soon, you're going to be able to start experiencing them for yourselves. In Gallipoli, the next chapter of the WW1 Game Series, you'll fight across the rugged cliffs, the trenches, and the beaches of the Dardanelles. To you as it is to me, then add Gallipoli to your Steam or wishlist today. Subscribe for more behind-the-scenes looks and updates from the front. I'm looking forward to talking to you a great deal about the rest of the history behind Gallipoli.